do is use this time to kind of pre-announce the coming of the Green Blue Marketplace. And for those who have not heard anything about the Green Blue Marketplace, you're missing a treat. You've missed a treat. We're fortunate enough today to be joined by the founder of the Green Blue Marketplace, Dr. Isaac Horton III, and somewhere roaming around is Isaac Horton IV, currently the chair of the Green Blue Marketplace. Also joining us and we want to make an announcement too, is Mr. Corey Somerville. Corey will be one of the major participants in helping to launch the hub of the Green Blue Marketplace. The home of the Green Blue Marketplace, for those who might not have guessed, is going to be in Mag's Marketplace, formerly known as Mag's Marketplace. Not that other name. We're excited. We had the opportunity over the last couple of months to explore what the Green Blue Marketplace offered. We think it is a perfect fit for not only Warren County, but for any rural area as well as metropolitan area that is interested in food security. You'll hear Dr. Horton speak specifically about food security, not just food access, not just about natural foods and organic food, but food security. I believe that this business model is revolutionizing access and control to food. So having said that, I'd like to introduce you, or take this time to introduce you to Dr. Horton.
Well, Robert, thank you for the introduction. This is my son, Isaac the Fourth, and Isaac B. Horton III, and we're happy to be here this afternoon. Now, the things that we're going to talk about today, without knowing much on your part, is going to seem like a wild fantasy. And so, I'm going to tell you guys a lot of things that may sound like a wild fantasy, but he wanted me to show you what the past president, the immediate past president of the of the North Carolina Medical Association said, okay? So y'all know that we're not just blowing something up here. I wasn't gonna start with this, but.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Philip Brown, past president of the North Carolina Medical Society and Chief Community Impact Officer at Novant Health. I'm so excited to be here at the groundbreaking of the Green Blue Community Garden. One of the things we know about good health is that fresh food is medicine. There is little substitute for a healthy diet, and it changes the chronic disease for every person who's able to have a healthy diet. The exciting thing about the Green Blue Community Garden is it's a solution that is local. In fact, it's hyper-local. It puts the food exactly where the people are. This allows the food to be eaten when it's fresh, and we know that the nutrient value is so much higher when we're able to consume fresh food. I have to admit, as somebody who lives 2 hours away from this community garden, I'm a little bit envious. In my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, we are just breaking ground on 2 brand new Novant Health Michael Jordan Family Medical Clinics. We know fresh food is medicine, and we would like to have these type of resources close to our clinics because we know it'll be transformational for the health of our patients. I look forward to the opportunity to participate in scaling this type of program exactly like Green Blue Community Gardens across the entire state of North Carolina. And I believe it will fundamentally change the future of health for the better.
Now, we're not gonna show you, what the city manager of Raleigh said, or what the mayor of Raleigh. You can go on our website and probably see a few of those people. But I mean, we have the endorsement of all of the key folks in the Raleigh area, and we are the first hydroponic indoor garden. And my son will tell you more about that, but I want to show you why growing hydroponically is so important. And so we're going to show you we're only show you 2 more videos. They're all short, because I think you get better pictures of things when, you had it cut down to a few things.
39 years ago, I was one of the first drug designers. No drugs had been designed. My PhD was in synthetic organic chemistry of natural products. We were arrogant. We thought we could take one compound out of the plant, make it synthetically, put it in a pill, and you...
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
Years ago, I was one of the first drug designers. No drugs had been designed. My PhD was in synthetic organic chemistry of natural products. We were arrogant. We thought we could take one compound out of the plant, make it synthetically, put it in a pill, and you would be healed. When I started this work 6 years ago, they had discovered 200 phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are the medicine in the plants. Last year, the number is up to 50,000. The East knew the food was in the medicine. Boil this root or this leaf. Now we have analytical technology to prove it. The most significant discoveries are those that the moment before you know the answer, you would never think of it. But once you hear the answer, it seems obvious. We discovered 4 basic scientific facts about plants and the human body. Water, freshness, epigenetics, and taste. Water. Plants are 70 to 96% water. A cucumber is 96% water. Our brain is 80% water. In fact, anything that is alive is mostly water. More than 80% of vegetables, fruits, and herbs are irrigated. That water is not regulated. Whether it's 1 billion gallons of waste chemicals flowing into the Florida aquifer or fracking chemicals pouring into the California aquifer.
60 billion pounds of hazardous waste. Now, the company agreed to clean up operations at 6 Florida sites and 2 in Louisiana, and claiming Mosaic was improperly storing and disposing of chemicals used to make fertilizers.
No one drinks water from lakes, rivers, or wells drilled into the aquifer. But you drink that water every time you eat vegetables and fruits, and it's slowly poisoning everyone. Freshness equals more medicine. After 24 hours, certain nutrients are gone forever.
Here's the secret. When I pull a piece of lettuce, see the white milk in there? I want you to just taste it. Okay, most people wouldn't even eat lettuce like this, and look at all the milk that's dripping off from that. So, that milk generally disappears in about 24 hours.
Really?
Yeah. If you're not eating lettuce within 24 hours, you're missing a huge part of the antioxidant load that this lettuce carries.
Vegetables are picked early, travel thousands of miles, and are treated with ripening agents. Pick no produce before its time. The supplement industry is more than $300 billion. One of my sisters had a stroke, and I started looking for a supplement that would regenerate brain cells. For decades, it was believed that brain regeneration was not possible. Research now reveals that common foods such as broccoli contains compounds capable of stimulating the repair and renewal of nerve tissue. There are over 100 scientific publications on the effect of succoforain on neural stem cell proliferation and differentiation. When I reviewed the science, it was clear that succoforain does not work without a special enzyme. That enzyme leaves the plant in 3 days, which means that if your vegetables are over 3 days, your brain is not regenerating. Dementia, like Alzheimer's, is impacting 50% of the population that lives to 80. Freshness equals more medicine.
And I'm going to say something about that particular slide. 4 months ago, I had 4 strokes. And of course, you know, the neurologists and the doctors and all that are like, well, how you up walking and talking and doing serious things like we're doing, right? And I said, because we have a brain regeneration formula. And I took it, and if I hadn't been taking it, I wouldn't be standing in front of you right now. My sister who had the stroke 5 years ago, she's still not right. And we just had 4 or 5 people, you know, relatives to die from strokes that are my age. I'm 66. We have what's called brain regeneration. We think it's going to be a huge change for our communities when we can start addressing brain regeneration. So this is the last little technical piece we'll show you, because I'm sure you're tired of it. But it's important for you to understand that, you know, we're not doing a hocus pocus, that we really have technology that will make a difference in all of your lives. Because everybody knows someone that has some type of dementia. But we are going to have a brain regeneration product that we will be launching within the next 30 days. We have a heart regeneration product that'll be launched, diabetes, obesity, and here's the nice thing about it. If the way that the rules are written now, if this is a food desert, everybody with the address in the food desert will get our products for free. Hear what I said?
Say it again.
That's the new rule, is that if you are in that food desert area, you get the food for basically free, or for a prescription. And if you're not, you know, let's say that your zip code is way out somewhere, your doctor can recommend that you get the food prescription. So there's a change coming in America on food prescriptions, because 99% of the people never heard of them, but that's what Obamacare did. It made food prescriptions happen. So we're moving from disease care, which is what I grew up in, you know, as a pharmaceutical person, to what we call nutrient care, where you try not to get sick. So anyway, and this is the one I want you to see, which again will dispel this concept that it's genetic, because it's not genetic. And this is the latest proof. See, all the data you have right now is 10, 20 years old. I'm showing you the latest stuff. So we know that the water that's in your plant is poison, therefore your plants are poison, and you're eating that. Now, let's just talk about, you know, your DNA.
Epigenetics. For the past 30 years, we were told that the genes, your DNA, determine most of the destiny of your health. Billions were spent on the Genome Project. The full sequence is completed and published in April 2003. A starting finding of this project was that the number of human genes appeared to be significantly fewer than previously estimated, which ranged from 50,000 genes to as many as 140,000. They discovered that human beings have roughly 20,500 genes. As it turns out, the water fleet has more genes than we do. Genetically, every person in the world is 99.9% the same. Though some of the differences that make us unique from one another are genetic, most, maybe as much as 95%, are epigenetics.
With epigenetics, we can take a different approach to treating disease by finding ways to remove bad epigenetic marks or add good
What you do impacts which genes are activated and which become or remain dormant. In fact, we now know that your genes can change. This is the science of epigenetics. The medical and pharmaceutical industries are mostly focused on genetics and treatment of genes. However, the exciting thing about this new discovery is that the way our genes impact who we are and who we become is a fluid process. It is not set in stone. This is why identical twins who share DNA become more and more distinct over time. Scientific fact, our DNA does not control our health and lifespan. Our choices determine our health and lifespan. The good news is more than 10,000 scientific papers make it clear that you can add 20 plus years to your life or slash your risk of cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, type 2 diabetes, just by your choices. Food is the medicine because it talks to your cells and DNA. Nutrient-secure food tells your body to regenerate. For 25 years, scientists studied places on the earth where the average person lived over 100 years. This is called the Blue Zone study. I had family members who believed that because her brothers and sisters had all died before 65, she would die as well. I convinced her that she could choose to live. She is now approaching 85 and in very good health. Taste. Over the last 60 years, food was not created for taste. It was created for increased yields. Humans naturally seek food with certain flavors because those flavors indicated nutrients that the body needs. We've only known about vitamins for 110 years. For thousands of years, we ate for taste. The $14 billion artificial flavoring industry fooled the body into thinking it had received these nutrients. But the body keeps eating because it does not have the nutrients, thus the obesity crisis. We've been telling ourselves that our addiction to flavor is the problem, but it's actually the solution.
Ruby red, fragrant, and full of flavor. These omakase strawberries, grown naturally in the foothills of the Japanese Alps, are unlike any others in the world. But thanks to a company now blending technology with indoor farming, our journey to find the berries ended at a warehouse in Kearney, New Jersey.
The key to producing these strawberries was how well we can recreate that same environment here in New Jersey.
You open the packages like the
So I'm gonna stop it right there. But again, you know, these guys are just focusing on growing strawberries. We're able to grow 800 different fruits and vegetables indoors. And we have the exact recipe on how to grow it. So we know what wavelengths to use. We know what water to use. We know how much CO2 to put in there. We know what temperature. Let me give you a good example. We had frost today. Well, a lot of people are probably running out buying the collard greens because, you know, the old folks, we know the best time to get the collard greens is after the first frost. Now, as a scientist, I'm gonna tell you why. My son would say, "Dad, you've been a little boring. We don't want the details." We don't want the details. I'm gonna let him talk next while I bring up the other video. But the why is this. Because when it gets cold, the plant, the collard green produces more sugar, which makes it sweeter, so more glucose. And where does it get the energy to make that glucose? It takes it out of the cellulose. So the leaves become more tender because you don't have as much cellulose in there. So there's a reason, you know, that we have the tradition to pick it after the first frost because it makes it sweeter and it makes it more tender. Right? I can turn my particular area to frost anytime I want it or a colder temperature. So, you know, we're growing greens and collard, all kind of stuff. They've seen it right now, you know, when you couldn't grow that stuff because we can control all what we call is the food recipe. So we know the grow recipe. We know what light to use. We know all those things about it. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Isaac B. Horton IV. So happy to be here today, and thank you guys for taking the time to be here. I just got finished with an exciting 2 weeks at the North Carolina State Fair. I went a restaurant concept in Raleigh You may have, if you watched CBS News yesterday, you just saw me on the news. We just became the first black-owned national seafood franchise in United States history. It's called Oak City Fish and Chips, and I just won the new food show at the North Carolina State Fair.
3 years in a row. 3 years in a row.
While I was learning about food in the retail process, my father was learning about the science of food. And we came together about 8 years ago. We made a deal. I just gotten back from a mission trip in Nicaragua feeding starving children. And I saw the first person in my life who had starved to death. And it was a jarring experience. And when I got back to the United States, I just finished my undergraduate degree in economics, and I began to look into the disparities of the food system. And I discovered that we were at the brink of the dawn of a new age, what I call the beginning of a mega transition from soil-based agriculture to indoor hydroponic farming, where I saw a cascading amount of data and statistics from different organizations, different government agencies from around the world that indicated that if we did not evolve how we were producing food, that by 2050, 20% of the world would be starving to death. And so I looked into hydroponics, and I came to my dad, and he made a deal with me that if I learned the food business, that he would learn the science of this new growing methodology, and that's how we got here today. So it's been an eye-opening, amazing 8 years for us. While you've seen some of the science, one of the most significant things I believe that we're about to we're going to see transition in America is the paradigm shift around water. Right now, a lot of people, like for example, where we live in Raleigh, you have your people who shop at Whole Foods, and they wouldn't dare shop at a Walmart or shop at a Food Lion. But even the food at Whole Foods, while it may not have any pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides sprayed on it, it is still 2 weeks to 3 weeks old because it goes through the normal distribution process. Simultaneously, the water used to irrigate fruits and vegetables is not regulated by the EPA. A lot of people don't know that. And so while you wouldn't go in your backyard and drink from the river or stream, you are every single time you eat a fruit or vegetable, because a fruit or vegetable is 65 to 95% water. A cucumber is 95% water. And oh, by the way, when your body takes in that water from a cucumber or from an apple or whatever it is that fruit or vegetable that you like to eat, the plant restructures that water molecule and turns into a small molecule and is absorbed by your cells twice as fast. And so while the fruit or vegetables, like I said, in Whole Foods may not have pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides, it still uses toxic water in the growing process. So in eastern North Carolina, we know that the aquifer is polluted majorly with hog waste, chicken waste, and antibiotics. In western North Carolina, or in the Piedmont region, is Duke Power's coal ash. Over 200 different contaminants have been found in the aquifer. We saw what the water was like out of Flint, Michigan, where some people are being born with birth defects now, or in California with the fracking, where it takes 8 barrels of water to produce 1 barrel, 1 bucket of water, or 8 barrels of water to produce one barrel of oil. And so there are just a resounding amount of benefits to this new growing method. One of the biggest things is that we cut out distribution. We're able to benefit the local economy, create jobs, while providing the highest quality food in the world for less than Walmart prices. So the value proposition is just outstanding in the sense that we're able to provide the best for the lowest price. So I just wanted to say that. This is our summary video, and it gives you a snapshot and an overview of what our business model is.
The Green Blue Marketplace is a physical and virtual market focused on creating communities of healthy longevity, sustainability, and trust. We sell food that is preventative and regenerative, where the food is the medicine. We combine this with a wellness-based community that creates a mindset of longevity. Our program provides a path to saving and extending the lives of millions. For personal and family, true food security is achieved. Green is sustainability. Blue is healthy longevity. Green. Land and water shortages threatens the food supply. NASA says if we cut down every tree in the world and planted food, we would still be 20% short in 30 years. Add climate change, a pandemic, a war, or truck boycott, and even now we see supply issues. It's no wonder that $3 billion has been invested into hydroponics by some of the richest and most informed people in the past 4 years. Even the founders of Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Oracle have invested hundreds of millions. Musk says food or hydroponics is the new internet. Why? Vertical indoor hydroponic farming can grow from 300 to 4,000 times the amount of food in the same space. In addition, there is a freshwater shortage. Agriculture uses 70% of fresh water. Hydroponics uses 95% less water. Agriculture accounts for 30% of energy. A key component of our model is hydroponics. Blue. In October of 2021, the Mayor's Conference of the 1,400 largest cities endorsed the Blue Zone method because some of the 50 cities using its principle, such as the mostly plant-based diets, have reduced healthcare costs by as much as 49%. Last year, we purchased the assets of one of the oldest Blue Zone companies, and the original owner of the trademark Blue Zone joined the company. The largest healthcare company in California also bought a nonprofit company called the Blue Zone. It is now a scientific fact. Our genes do not control our longevity and health. Our choices do. Our patented pending business model combines green and blue in a way that addresses the cost of distance. Today, 50% of your food comes from overseas, and most of the fruit or vegetable travels 1,100 miles. The cost of distance for food is substantial. First, America is in a nutrient famine. The CDC says 60% of Americans have a chronic disease, and if you are 65, it's 80%. Most Americans are sick. There are many whys, but the company emphasizes 2 critical insights not identified by others. 1. Plants are 70% to 96% water. Irrigation water is not regulated. Contaminated irrigation water from the aquifer means contaminated and nutrient-compromised food. 2. After harvesting, plants begin to lose water. Each day as the water evaporates, the key 50,000 phytonutrients in plants are compromised. For example, as early as 3 days after harvest, key nutrients for brain regeneration are gone from broccoli. The 50% of 80-year-olds suffering from dementia is not based on our genes. It's based on our food and lifestyle. America is in a nutrient famine because our fruits and vegetables are grown in poison, are picked before maturity, and are 2 to 3 weeks old from the pick date. The blue-green marketplace is making the freshness revolution a centerpiece of its strategy. Freshness equals more nutrients or medicine in the food. Once the customers who spend $50 billion on organic food understand that if the produce is more than 3 to 8 days old, they are nutrient compromised. They will demand nutrient-fresh fruits and vegetables. They will demand to know the pick date. The consumer will demand true food security. This is the green-blue market. It's a 17,000 square foot facility right in your neighborhood. It will feed 10,000 people with fresh produce weekly. Our customer acquisition strategy is to allow groups such as IBM, Apple, First Baptist Church, or the City of Raleigh members or employees have a free night to experience Taste and See. Unlike a grocery store, when you walk in, you will smell the fresh produce growing. It's a fascinating experience, and the taste of freshly cut produce from heirloom seeds will remind you of the flavors and smells of your grandparents' home. That flavor and smell signals that the nutrient index is high. Over 400 test groups resulted in 100% of attendees expressing an interest in signing up for a trial. Cost of distance is not just health and sustainability related, it's financial. Walmart states for each $1 spent on vegetables and fruit, the farmer receives 7 cents, the retailer receives 20 cents, the distribution system receives 73 cents. This is where the business model of the green-blue marketplace is different. Hydroponic companies are a replacement for the farmers. Like traditional farmers, they sell into the distribution system. The green-blue marketplace strategy is to capture the whole dollar. Capturing the whole dollar gives the company a minimum of 73% reduction in cost, which becomes 15 times the profit of a hydroponic farmer and allows for product price reduction. Eliminating the cost of distance in the patent-pending business model allows the company to offer groups, whether employee-based, club, or client-based, a suite of benefits unparalleled by the farmers, retailers, or distributors. For example, everyone gets a free nutritionist and longevity coach. The business model of the green-blue marketplace, which is based on franchises and company stores, is very profitable. Each store achieves profitability or breaks even in 24 months and a positive cash flow with no debt in 36 months. After 36 months, the green-blue market produces a minimum of $2.4 million each year in free cash flow. The green-blue marketplace expects to create 545 stores in 10 years, generating $1.1 billion or $4.3 billion in free cash flow by increasing people moving toward a healthier diet as well as purchasing additional products and services. A decentralized platform for group economics, eliminating distribution, starting with food grown in the neighborhood, delivered in 48 hours of the pick date, and staffed with community members. This is why Green-Blue Market creates a green-blue community, a community where locally grown food promotes healthy longevity, sustainability, and trust. A community based on personal and group, true food security.
So before we start with, to see if they have questions.
Yes.
I just want to introduce Zach. Please stand, Zach. He's our partner.
Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
So Zach was the assistant head of construction for the state of North Carolina. He's built $9 billion worth of buildings. He built all the campuses from when they put the $3 billion out. He ran the $3 billion to renovate all the campuses, you know, from the new campus in Charlotte to, you know, ECU, you know. So this guy, we looked at 400 hydroponic systems together from all over the world. We had the president of Philips come here. We had the largest hydroponic company, their president and CEO came, and we rejected, you know, their offer. We wanted something that you didn't have to have an engineering degree to work in. Now, I've trained them already. And I know they ain't got no engineering degree, I'm just joking. But you don't even need a high school education to work inside our facility. And you know, we're gonna pay them at least $25 an hour. So, because we grow it locally, that whole transportation gives us so much flexibility, and it'll give your community the same kind of flexibility. I'm gonna turn it over to
And security.
And security, go ahead.
One of the big things when we were at the mayor's office, we were talking to Mayor Baldwin in Raleigh. It was, you know, we asked her a simple question. We said, listen, you know, we saw the breakdown in the supply chain system and logistics during COVID. We saw certain things missing from the grocery store. We saw how people were acting about toilet paper and certain basic human essentials. We said the 18-wheelers don't show up to Raleigh. You know, where would you get your food from? If the 18-wheelers can't show up, if there's a natural disaster, if there is a truck boycott, if there is another pandemic where 30% of the people get sick, right? Not 1% or 0.01%, but if 10% of the people get sick, where would the city get their food from? And a lot of people think that the city, a lot of citizens think that the city and county has like a big warehouse with, you know, canned goods or food supply. There's no reserve food supply like that, you know. And so she called in the head of food security for their food security council. And, you know, one of the things she said was, well, what do we need to do? So in Raleigh right now, we're planning on putting 4 facilities, one in every quadrant of the city. And we're dedicating a certain amount of the growing capacity for a food security contingency plan. That if something were to happen, there would be a natural disaster, whatever it is, the mayor can push a button, and we will redirect a certain amount of the grow capacity to the city, so that the firemen, the sheriff's office, the police, the EMS, the hospital workers, can them and their families don't have to go out and fight it out with everyone else in the grocery store, and they can focus on getting the city or the county back on track. So one of the things, while not only are we supplying the highest quality food in the world, but it serves as a platform of security, of real true food security for a municipality or for a county to be able to have a local, hyper-local food supply available in case of emergency. And so in terms of the ARPA funds.
So let me tell you what he's really saying. The people in Raleigh are gonna be upset with you that you had a smart guy here, a smart team, and they pulled off the first hub. Now Raleigh has the first spoke, which they've been in, but the hub is a whole nother thing. We was gonna put it in Wake Forest or in Clayton or Crabtree or someplace around, someplace for the first one, but these guys came in and, me and the owner here, I call him Dr. Stevenson.
Oh, thank you.
He deserves.
That's my wife.
He deserves that. But he and I said that nothing moves faster than the speed of the spirit. So we always said nothing moves faster than the speed of trust, but it takes time to build up trust. But when he and I met and saw each other right from the beginning, something happened. And so we have now agreed that this will be the first hub.
And we are excited because of a number of connections. One, birthplace of economic, environmental justice. Birthplace of one of the original planned cities, Soul City. A community that is rich in terms of heritage, rich in terms of natural resources. A friend of mine told me when I first came back here 5 years ago that he didn't understand why people walked around and said that there's nothing to do in Warren County, when all he saw was the natural beauty, the lakes, the land, the ability to create and produce. And when we started talking, all of that just came together for us. And we've been sitting, as many of you know, with the marketplace, and my daughter has a question or comment.
Can you address for people how this works together with the idea of the cooperative that we've been talking about?
Perfect. I can answer that. So we reached an agreement that any member of the Green Blue Marketplace would be a member of the co-op. And that any member of the co-op would also be a member of the Green Blue Marketplace. And so, there's a collaboration that'll happen between, those two companies that allows maximum benefit for everybody.
And there will be no competing offerings in terms of products. So if someone goes here and sees something, that you get it in this location, you're not getting it in the other. But we want those two markets, if you will, the co-op and the Green Blue Marketplace, to really come together and say, okay, how do we leverage the best of these two models, because they're similar. As you get to know all of what is.
Well, let me give one example.
Okay.
So we don't grow certain things indoors. Okay? So we wouldn't grow a pecan tree indoors, a walnut tree indoors. We wouldn't grow a blueberry bush or a raspberry bush indoors. Or you guys may know stevia if you're trying to watch not eating that white sugar. Well, I grew stevia in hydroponics, but The stevia is like my rose plants. I've grown 38 different species. The rose plants, the roots want to dry out. And the stevia is the same way. So what we'll be offering the local farmers is, okay, we know that you guys don't want to really be in the farming anymore because nobody really wants to be out there in the hot sun at 5 o'clock in the morning with the bugs and now the whole toxic chemicals they've been putting on it. That's why they went out of business. Monsanto was because they were sued for several $billions because of Roundup. And I don't know if you guys really know what Roundup is, but Roundup originally, was an antibacterial. That's why it kills your gut. That's why everybody has these autoimmune problems, because the gut is killed, the bacteria is killed. And that's what Roundup did. And now, Dow has a product that's got one methyl group more on it than Roundup, so it's still Roundup. And they let it go, because right now, what do you do with you gotta have, right now, the fungus and the weeds and all that stuff kills the stuff that's growing outdoors. But when we grow indoors, not only will the wind not carry something over to a Whole Foods farm, or the water that they're putting on the food, all our stuff, we don't use any single chemical at all. And ultimately, even the fertilizer that we use comes from the fish that we'll grow. We use the fish feces. And in terms of the EPA, we'll be 100% nothing that's thrown away. So we'll take any food that you have back, any scraps that you have.
No food waste, no food loss.
No food loss, no food waste. And right now, most landfills are filled up with 40% of landfills in cities is filled up with food waste, which produces 3 times the amount of carbon in the air. So all these things that are coming after us, we try to address them for your community.
We sidestep all those agricultural inputs simultaneously because we do so when we grow indoors. We don't need fertilizer, we don't need pesticides, fungicides, we don't need all these agricultural inputs that are gonna fluctuate or increase in price over the next decade or 2. We don't have those, and because of that, we can offer the citizens of a municipality or a county price protection on their food. So when the price of strawberries go up in the grocery store, like we've been seeing the cost of food go up, our price will remain flat because our inputs don't change, right? The only thing that changes is the cost of energy and the cost of water, which are negligible for us in terms of how it reflects in the consumer's purchase price, because the biggest cost center for the price of fruits and vegetables and for food in general in the grocery store industry, in the retail industry, is transportation. So when gas, we saw gas double in price almost during COVID, and it had a strain on the cost of food. We're ultra hyper local, right? So we're not having to.
Let me let the better half say a word.
Oh.
I'm sorry, this is all exciting and good, and we need to hear it, but I think there's a question of, if we are doing this in the county, let's say, what does that do to the grocery co-op, the store that people are waiting for and hoping for?
So we're not a grocery store.
I know.
Right. So what we are is focused on healthy longevity.
So maybe Robert or Karina could address the grocery co-op and where we're trying to go with that and how it coincides a little bit better with this?
If she wants to, I think it's a little premature at this point. We don't know exactly everything we're gonna do together, but what we're saying is that our focus is healthy longevity. We're not a grocery store, which is why, their members can join ours and our members can join theirs, right?
Right.
So there's no conflict. And in fact, if anything, I think the things we bring to the table, for the community, which is healthy longevity, I don't think the co-op is gonna be putting a lot of bad food in there either. And so, would we allow the co-op members to have our hydroponically grown food or fish and stuff like that, yeah, I mean, that's why they would be members.
Yeah, I mean, it undergirds the co-op with sustainability, because the co-op is subject to logistics and supply chain, because everything from the co-op is not local. So if something were to happen, if there's a natural disaster, the co-op still gets its supplies from the normal distribution process. The Green Blue Marketplace undergirds the co-op with a base foundational supply of the highest quality food in the world, produced here at the same site as the co-op, right? Our facility only needs 17,000 square feet. We just left the site. The site is humongous. It is humongous. The Green Blue Marketplace footprint is inside of the co-op. It is not overlaid and replace the co-op. It augments and strengthens the co-op. You cannot have longevity. You can have longevity, but if you don't have longevity, there's this whole concept now that we have the technology, we have the know-how, we have epigenetics. We've cracked the code on how to help people live to be 100 years of age. Is what all the scientific papers and everything's talking. But you can't do that unless you have you can't have the blue without the green. If you have longevity, and we can all live to be 100, but you don't have the systems to sustain that, then you can't hold it. So in terms of how we produce the food in a sustainable way, the fish poop, providing the nitrogen-rich source of fertilizer for the plants, the grubs that we use that eats the waste that you guys send back, the food waste and the food loss.
Cardboard.
They eat
roots.
cardboard. They pretty much they recycle. Those grubs are then fed to the fish, right? It's a complete sustainable loop, zero waste. So this is a really, really, really highly optimized and effective growing methodology and model that only heightens anything that's involved in. Like Dr. Brown said, we'd love to have one of these facilities near where we treat our patients, where it's close accessible food. We'd love to have one of these facilities attached to a co-op, because people in co-op want cost affordable, quality driven, social and environmentally sustainable products in a co-op that benefit the local economy. The Green Blue Marketplace enhances and strengthens that. So it doesn't, the Green Blue Marketplace, because it's so efficient and because it does not, it provides such a high quality for such a low price, it only complements things that it partners with. It doesn't compete, it complements.
And I think what we'll see as we continue to build on both models, right? That we'll be looking for ways to make sure that they take advantage of each other, as opposed to being a competitive model. It's gonna, as Isaac said, we want to make the models as complementary as possible.
I think when we talk about the models, putting the two together affords us actual food sovereignty, right? Like when we're talking about food justice, particularly in an environmental justice perspective, having the food grown, we have access to some local food. This gives us most of the foods we eat regularly in a local opportunity.
In a local opportunity in such a way that is delivered to the citizens of this area within 48 hours of the pick date, which has incredible implications for the health of the people eating it. Like, that is one of the biggest things I would like to emphasize. This stuff is not 2 weeks old. The stuff that you're eating in the grocery store, they have now found out, it may have a little fiber left in it. It may have a little bit of vitamin C, because vitamin C is a really big molecule, so it takes a while to leave the plant. But the things that help your brain regenerate, your heart to be healthy, for you to not to have a stroke, the things that help you to age slower, they are gone by the time you actually purchase them in the grocery store. If you're feeding your kids broccoli, you may think, eat your vegetables, kids, but the kids are actually right. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. So the quality. The other thing that I think is significant to note for how this really marries well with the co-op is that the Green Blue Marketplace is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of putting the infrastructure in place for the members of the co-op to be able to access this whole new healthcare frontier that deals with food prescriptions and the government incentives that are now being put in place, that 97% of federal subsidies that were subsidizing unhealthy foods, subsidizing McDonald's to enter into the community, making ketchup a vegetable in the school systems, so that requirement is met. Now that 97% of federal subsidies are being reversed, and now 97% of those subsidies are subsidizing healthy food choices. And because of that, like my dad kind of talked about a little bit in the beginning, they are now going to be offering a monthly subsidy to everyone to incentivize them to purchase healthy foods. Well, that process is going to be unveiled over the next 3 or 4 years, and there's several things that need to be put in place. You have to get some type of written recommendation from a physician. You have to consult with a nutritionist. You have to get these healthy food vouchers. All of these new things are going to be coming into place that people are going to have to become familiar with. They're going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first. Well, how do I do this? The learning curve for older folk like my dad.
Yeah, I'm 66. I only got 56 more years to go. There you go.
But we're going to have those resources available. We call them longevity coaches in the Green Blue Marketplace, because we take the 73% that goes to the 18-wheelers, and we are able to keep that 73 cents. We don't just put that in our pocket. We redistribute that 73 cents into providing products and services that are unparalleled to what the grocery store, to what the farmer, or what the distribution companies would be able to provide as independent entities. For example, every single member of the Green Blue Marketplace gets free access to a nutritionist, right? And your nutritionist is like your doctor. For the longest, normally affluent people have access to a nutritionist. The average American right now is just struggling to just get normal health care, right? But affluent people, they have a doctor, they go to a nutritionist, they are looking at food, their bodies is a biological machine where they are optimizing certain food choices to create optimal health. The nutritionist is something that will be an incredibly enriching and comforting experience for people now who have questions about their diet. My child seems to break out in a rash or hives when they eat certain things. Having access to nutritionists is going to provide psychological and emotional and support for a community that has questions about this ever-evolving health landscape. Every day there's a new video on Instagram or YouTube talking about this chemical being in this product. This was discovered in this. This new chemical was discovered in the Chick-fil-A sandwich. What do you do? The nutritionist answers those type of questions for you. So that type of resource is something that's going to just provide so much intrinsic value to the members of the co-op.
And let me throw one last thing in, okay, if you don't mind. I want to give credit to Eva Clayton, Congresswoman Eva Clayton, because I sat under her feet 8 years ago when I didn't know what food security was, period. Never heard of it, right? I've been to 40 countries in the world. I've owned companies from, Malaysia, Brussels, Argentina, Europe, China, Taiwan. We've owned companies from California all the way to North Carolina. But I didn't know what food security was. And, she was in charge of food security for the United Nations at the time. And so she began to school me on what food security was. We have changed what food security means, because now we've added, it's not that you can just have access to it, but the price has got to be right and fixed. So we're going to be able to give people a 3 to 5 year fixed price on your food. We added in purity. So if the food is made with bad water, it's not toxic free. We call it toxic free water. We've added, the timing is important. So we own the trademark, the pick date. Now we're going to license that to most of the world, Because who cares about the expiration date? You know, if you go to that store, you buy those strawberries, and you were planning to eat them in 3 days, but it took 4. By that 4th or 5th day, they got fuzz on them, right? And you toss them. We're gonna say, no, don't. If you buy them from us, in 5 or 6 days, they won't have fuzz on them. But if you buy them from somebody else, you can bring them to us too, and we'll take your waste and feed it to our grubs. And then we'll feed our grubs to our fish, and then everybody, he's got the best tasting fish in North Carolina right now, okay?
That's
So
why he keeps winning.
That's why he keeps winning. So all I'm saying to you is that Eva Clayton was our mentor and taught us about, food security, and she's from, right around the street. I went out to her place the first day. I remember her nephew, Reverend Clayton, took me, to meet her, and then she began to school me because I didn't know what food security, meant or should mean.
I don't know if the audience noticed, but Congresswoman Clayton was actually featured in one of the videos.
So we have about 25 of these videos that go into all kind of depths. We just agreed to show a couple today. And, over time, you guys will get to know more and more about it. And I can tell you this one thing. People always say, well, how are you gonna get people to eat your food? We have this one simple thing called tour and taste. And Eva actually came up with that because when I told her we're gonna grow it with hydroponics, you know the first thing she said to me? What's it gonna taste like? Those are her exact words.
That's what we made her a salad.
Yeah, it's growing in water, what's it gonna taste like? And what you'll find out, and they can tell you the same thing, 100% of the people that's come through our facility, when they taste it, the first thing they say is, oh my God. Like, for example, how many people eat kale in here? All right. When you taste our kale, you know what you're gonna say? Man, that is sweet. It tastes sweet. You ever had any sweet tasting kale? Right. So our kale, when you pull that off, tell them.
I can honestly tell you that he's the community garden in Raleigh, which is in their business model they describe as a spoke, is a smaller operation, if you will, but it is a hydroponically grown, vertically grown container. You walk in, you smell the plants, you eat the plants, and for me, and I think most people tasting it, you immediately, for those of us who have some age on us, we're taken back to another time when food tastes like food as opposed to somebody engineering the food with either sugar, salt, or butter to make it taste a certain way. It is clearly nutrient dense, and you smell it as well as taste it.
So, for me, 2 things. I know they don't say it, but for me, what stands out is the food integrity. I know they say security, but a lot of people now, like you were saying, hey, what's in the food, right? This gives you food integrity. You know what you're getting from this because it's controlled all the way around. So you also have that food integrity in there. Second thing is, I know you said hyper local on the growth and things like that. Warren County is pretty big, so can you talk about how the model addresses that being hyper local? Because we're saying the hub is here, right? And say if somebody on the outer edges, right? The demographic, we have a lot of elderly people, maybe they may not have transportation.
Well, the people from Raleigh are gonna want some of yours.
True, but how do you address the?
And so we were only 40 minutes from Raleigh. Of course, they're gonna be upset with y'all. I hope y'all ain't got no enemies over there in Raleigh, because they're gonna be like, how did y'all get the food?
Well, the spoke portion of it.
Right.
Well, yeah, so, the definition of local, a lot of people know this, is within 500 miles, right? So DC is local. That's why we're considered hyper-local, and really a step further is ultra-hyper-local. We're actually in the neighborhood. And our vertically integrated indoor hydroponic community garden model is something that it complements and works in concert with the hub model. So the co-op will be a part of the hub model will be a part of the co-op. That's a 17 to 20,000 square foot footprint. The community garden is a third of an acre. This is something that can be at an elementary school. Okay. This is something that can be at a community center.
And so I just want to mention, we purchased so we have a whole educational program. We ran it for the first time this past summer at a church outside of Charlotte. So we have a whole educational program for both for first graders all the way to college students. We have college internships that work for us right now. Let me just give you an example. So the head of nutrition for East Carolina, NC State, A&T, Central, all the heads of all the nutrition areas have all been with us. They're all planning programs with us. We're under a lot of pressure to do stuff with a lot of people because, they're all saying, well, shoot, what do we need to do to get our nutritionists and our dietitians in your program? And we're saying, well, we'll take them in as interns first, and then as the ones that prove out, sure, we'll give them a customer base right from the beginning. So.
But to address directly Corey's point about the accessibility is that the products that you purchase from the Greenville Marketplace, they can be delivered. So in terms of the sick and shut in terms of the elderly, in terms of people having phobias now about large gatherings, we do have a delivery component embedded into our model. The hub is a larger footprint, and the community gardens then are placed in and throughout an area and are much smaller. And the hubs feed into the community gardens.
The people that are way out, in other words, on the outskirts of the area.
Exactly. So we could augment that with a community garden. Those community gardens feed 10,000 people versus the hub feeding anywhere from 25 to 40,000 people. So we can come in and we can scale those up. All of the equipment is modular. So for example, we can bring in 3 growing units, we can bring in 4 growing units, or we can just bring in 1. One of those growing units would take care of 2,000 people. So every growing unit that we put inside of our community garden footprint takes care of 2,000 constituents or citizens.
Let me give you an example. The third of the acre that he was talking about that they've been on, they were growing 300 pounds a year of food. So this is Passage Homes. Passage Homes, I could show you a video on it, but I'll just tell you this. Passage Homes is the largest affordable housing developer in Wake County. And both Wake County and the city of Raleigh fund them about $5 million. So they had a community garden. And we went to them and said, what you doing with that community garden? Because it looks pretty worn down. And they said, well, we grow and give away 300 pounds. You know how much we're gonna grow in that same spot? 150,000 pounds in the same spot. From 300 to 150,000. So I'm just saying, we're talking about day and night here when we talk about what we're bringing to the table versus the old way of doing stuff. And I know if you haven't seen this stuff, it probably sounds like something in the movies or something in outer space. But as soon as you come in and you smell it and then you taste it, you know that's what you used to have in your backyard.
I would say, just to kind of put it in perspective, my family we've got a hoop house, High Time, right? Right now it's empty. There's nothing growing in it. We did grow for about 3-4 months, but we won't put anything in it until next spring, right? We're talking about growing 7 days a week, right? 24 hours a day, 362 days a year. You can see where the numbers change.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
I've got a hand in the back.
Can you talk a little bit about what the actual opportunity is for Warrenton? I know we've gotten lots of great information around the area, like the whole project, but what you're really, the final offer, what you're looking to bring into Warren County to start.
It's simple. we're gonna operate a hub. We're signing a lease for 20,000 square feet of space to be utilized or dedicated directly to Green Blue Marketplace out of Mag's Market.
That's officially signed today.
So this is not just hype. We're moving on this.
It's job creation, economic development, food security, a food security footprint. We're willing to start engaging with local leaders, stakeholders, and politicians to establish a food security plan for this area, including a security plan if something were to happen. How is that food protected? How is it distributed to the police? How is it distributed to the EMS, to the hospital workers, to the local, to the people that take care of the trash services? All the essential utility-based, need-based services that provide security and routine comfortability for the citizens of this area. In a case of emergency, all those people who have dedicated their lives to supporting the citizens here and creating this comfortable environment, they're gonna all need food in the case of that, in the case of emergency. Green Blue Marketplace is prepared to create the food security plan to exactly how to administer that food in times of emergency to the city council, to the firemen, to the EMS, to all of those essential workers. So it's job creation, it's food security, it's economic development, it's retail development, it's a point of difference, it's tourism. This is going to be something that people are going to want to drive to this area to see. If you've never seen this before, my dad said, I know it sounds like Star Trek, I know it sounds like the movies. It is. It is impressive. It is ultraviolet lights shining. It'll be a glass front. You'll be able to see the stuff growing. This is an exhibit for children. This is a field trip. When I was a little kid, they took us to the museum and they showed us a hydroponic unit. They had the display in Disney. When my dad took me to Disney and they showed the future farm. This was 25 years ago. This is something that's an opportunity for us to educate. I'm talking with Wake County Public Schools right now about the field trips of the kids coming over to the hydroponic community garden. This is a new frontier in ag tech. This is the children being able to learn about the future of farming, learning about epigenetics, learning about nutrient security, learning about hydroponic technology. This is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Let me just tie right into that. I apologize for interrupting, but we've been struggling with our education system here in Warren County, all across the county. We've got a hydroponic lab but no teacher. We've got 44%. I attended a conference with the superintendent and board of education educated a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about we got 44% of our population that graduates, but they don't have any type of certificates or skill, right? They don't want to farm. I mean, when we look at the farming community today, our farmers market has 7 farmers. Our major farmers around the county, we probably can count them up, and you'll end up with maybe 15. Several of those are actually getting out of it. The average age of our farmers is 65 plus. But when you look at what we're talking about now, we're talking about creating that new view of farming. Well, it's really agriculture, but I'm focused on technology because these systems, the systems that drive the operation, they're automated. I need people to understand computers. You just talked about the science that goes into it. I see this as a place that we can literally tie our community together, we can promote our community in a different way, and we get to tie into the thing that we love, and that is growing things.
Since time immemorial, people have centered around water and food. If you look at America, the most densely populated, the whole center of the country is blank. We have settled along every major body of water, the Great Lakes, the East Coast, the West Coast, down by the Gulf. people said around water and food. There's lots of water here. This is a great county. We have the lakes. This is this being also now mixing in a dedicated, abundant source of food makes this place a more attractive place to live. This is not far from the Triangle, or, like all the people who are moving to Raleigh. I've been on the board of directors for downtown for 5 years. All we talk about is the amount of people moving into Raleigh and moving into Wake County. People are living in Burlington, they're living in Mebane, they're willing to drive 40 minutes, 50 minutes to the RTP. This was a 50-minute drive for us. In 5 years, 10 years, when we see how the currency stuff is playing out with China and Russia, and people are worried about logistics and worried about our economic centers, people are going to be prioritizing food security at an increasingly accelerated pace. Warren County being the environmental justice hub for the state, and having a rich source of water and a rich source of food makes this place a more attractive place to live.
In fact, let me just add one thing to it. So remember I told you that the largest healthcare company in California bought a blue zone company. We bought the other one. So they just announced what they call a blue zone community in Miami. And they're putting $100 million in it. And for it to be a blue zone, and you know what our response was? There ain't no blue without green. And downtown Miami, it don't seem a lot of green to me. I've been there many times, right? But Warren County is green. So to have green-blue communities all around here, and for this to become a place where, instead of them settling down, the Wake County has so many retired folks, because that's where the retired people are moving, but, Warren County could become a massive place of green-blue communities, and all of a sudden your land and everything has more value. In addition to that, the thing I'm gonna say to you is that besides us working with, housing companies and stuff like that, Blue Zone has 4 components. 80% fruits and vegetables. So you can eat 20% meat, anything else you want. And I'm not gonna talk about our other kind of products that are coming. That's a whole nother discussion. But the second thing that the Blue Zone does is we remove toxicity from your environment. The third thing we do is we want you to participate in exercise. That's critical. So all of those 4 things that we're promoting, and that's why we even talk about a longevity coach, because if you're gonna live longer, right? Then you gotta have more money. If you're gonna die at 90, but if you're dying at 120 like me, you gotta have more money, right? You gotta have more money. So we teach financial education, we teach investment, and we just got the 2nd largest law firm in the nation to join us. Of course, they want $250,000 to give us this opinion that we want. But we think that we've come up with a way for non-accredited investors to invest in something that will produce, 10% or 50% yields. So we can teach the community how to become investors, right? So this is about longevity. It's not just about food security, but you're not gonna live long without food security, but you're not gonna live long without the other components of security. And one of the most important things, if I showed you this video, for example, they've determined that relationships are more important than being obese, than being an alcoholic. That people that have no relationships, they die earlier and quicker. So that's why, when you join as a group, like as the co-op group, you get special benefits. And the more people that are in your group, so your church, for example, the more people that are in your group, your prices are cheaper. So like the city of Raleigh and Wake County, we got 8,000 people. So, they can get their prices, very, very low at the end of the day. So, there's a lot of advantages that we're talking about that we haven't showed you guys, but they've seen a lot of this stuff. Green Blue Marketplace is not just about fruits and vegetables. It's about healthy longevity.
I love some questions.
Yeah. So let's open it up to everybody. And so if anyone has a question.
So Robert, you guys looking for investors? Do you have a timeline of when this will be in? Answer a couple of those questions.
Good
I can
question.
answer.
I'll direct it to Dr. Horton.
So, Corey has formed the LLC, him and, Brother Stevenson. And that LLC now has the first right of refusal on all franchises, whether it's a hub or whether it's a spoke. They have the first right of refusal on it. They also, have the first right of refusal in terms of working with Zach, in terms of the whole design and what happens. So Corey Group has that. And I think that over time, Corey's group, they want to own the whole thing. And so, we're discussing the $3.5 million that we would be putting in, to do it. What would they need, to buy us out? So we haven't agreed on what that would be yet. But ultimately, I'm thinking Corey and them, because he says they want to own the whole thing, so they're going to need some investors. So maybe a month from now, or 2 months from now, they'll know what they're doing.
So you guys would come and operate it and run it? Is that what it is?
It's a corporate store.
It's a corporate store right now. But if Corey has his way, it'll become, owned by his group.
And we're willing to let them own it. We would not fight with them about it. See, one of these facilities takes care of, depending on the capacity, 15 to 25,000 people. They produce about $2.4 million of free cash, right? We're gonna be opening up, like Raleigh, we can have 10 of these. 10 of these wouldn't even cover, would even cover, 20% of Wayne County, right? So it's not like our peer hydroponic companies that their facilities are costing $200 million, $400 million to build. These facilities cost like $2 million to build. It costs the same amount as a grocery store, right?
Less.
So
Yeah.
that upfront cost that y'all are putting into it, do you have a timeline on that?
Yeah, so here's what we expect. In the next, so we already have obviously we wouldn't have a three-dimensional view if we didn't have detailed plans. But we got to adopt those plans to, this location. And we think we ought to have that done in 90 days. So we'll have the exact amount needed and everything to totally have it up and running. And also by that same 90 days, I think Corey will know how much money he wants to raise and, and probably start, we'll put all his documents together, so he doesn't have to, that's part of the service he gets. But we're saying somewhere around January, is that, if he needs more investors, because he wants to try to buy the store from us, we probably would not start the major renovation until February.
Yeah, but just for you to understand the economic scale, this is equivalent to building a McDonald's, right? In terms of the economic investment. This is not a $50 million project, right?
Well, $500 million project.
Right. So, just keep that in mind as you're conceptualizing. The technology is innovative, it's futuristic, in part, but in terms of the economic investment, our facilities cost 1 to 3% what the major hydroponic companies' facilities cost. And their model is to just replace the soil-based farmer. They sell to US Foods or to Cisco, the same distribution systems that you see delivering to grocery stores. They sell right to the distribution process, and the distribution process sells to the retailer. Our model is we sell direct to the constituents, to the citizens. So we don't have to have 500,000 customers like a Food Line has to have before the company even starts to break even, right? We're talking about one of these facilities having 10,000 benefiting the community, and the owners of that facility are making, you know, quality returns on their investment to the infrastructure of the area.
So I think there were two answers to that question, Rob. One, that cosign, the building owners, have entered into a lease with Green Blue Marketplace to build and operate that store. At the same time, Corey Group has launched a relationship with GBM to where they will become the franchise owners for the Warren territory. Ideally, it makes sense for the Corey Group to bring on investors or to be able to move as quickly as possible and take as larger control over this store as possible sooner, because the value of the market will continue to go up. So right now, there's a number that the Corey Group is talking about.
Well, let me just throw a little something. So the fact is that, you know, we already retained the Wall Street people to raise funds for us nationwide, and their stock options are at a $50 million valuation. So when Wall Street agrees to a $50 million valuation, you know you're worth a lot more than that. So we know we're worth a lot more than that, but we're being patient. We're not in a rush. And then just take it one step further. My son and I own 90% of the business. So these 8 years, I haven't taken a salary in 8 years. He hasn't either. And I put millions in. He's put millions in. So when we bought these other companies, we bought a crypto company last year. So you guys are just getting the tip of what we're putting together, but this is about a marketplace that changes your community at the end of the day, that allows you what? Healthy longevity.
Okay.
Give Carolyn Rossholm, it's nice to meet you. Give us some idea of the support that will be continued. I know the facility, but in terms of the ongoing operations, who's gonna be growing it? Who's gonna be harvesting it? What's your role in that part?
Well, if it's a corporate store,
okay,
you know, we'll be hiring people from around here.
We're creating jobs.
Right.
Yeah, each facility has, you know, its own sensei, you know, of growing. You know, it has a farm manager. Right?
And so the initial thing that's gonna happen is that Corey's group, they want to own the store as well as Warren County. And we said, okay, fine, you can, but you don't have to. You know, we'll be happy to own it ourselves, and we'll start off owning it, but we'll give you the right. And the second piece of it is that Corey's group will start training in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully in the next, let's call it by early January, you guys will be able to come over to the store and actually see where Corey has been learning how to grow hydroponically.
Okay.
Yep.
Other questions? Stacy, I know you got a question.
Okay.
Mayor?
What's an example of the cost to the consumer to be a member to have the opportunity to purchase something?
Excellent question.
And of course, we have the whole video that breaks it all down, but
Sure.
You want to just talk at a high level?
Yeah, just because we keep that 73 cents, the membership is free, right? One of the reasons why it's membership based in a highly populated area, like for example Raleigh, that the first facility that we launched there, everyone simply cannot join. Because we guarantee price security, one of the reasons why we're able to guarantee a set price is because we know exactly how much we can grow. The produce and the fruits and vegetables are grown in racks, and racks have a certain number of towers, and each tower has a certain number of growing slots. And so we have a profile for example, member number 1 or member number 528, and we will know exactly how much capacity that we need to dedicate in our facility towards that membership. And we will not exceed a certain amount of members because we are guaranteeing the members access to food. So if food line runs out of food because 18 wheelers didn't come, we have to be able to guarantee that the members of the Green Blue Marketplace are gonna still be able to receive food in where every other retail space in the community may be out.
And let me ask you a question a little bit more specifically. If you looked at our 5-year forecast, which is month by month, so I mean, we have details for everything beyond what you could imagine. The individual person, when we did that first model, we based it on you getting 25 pounds for $35 of fruits and vegetables, which basically puts you in the Walmart price range. You know, Whole Foods and those people are 40, 50% more than what we would charge. So we're talking about, in our original plan, it was Walmart prices is what we were basing our fruits and vegetables on. However, with the new food is the medicine model, you potentially, even though you look incredibly healthy, so the doctor would never give you a prescription for anything, unless he wanted to give you a prescription on how to fly. I can tell you a flyer, right? But anyway, what I'm saying is that with the new food prescriptions, your copay may be 50 cents, or like in my case, my copays are 0, right? Because here's how it works. With the new model that the government has, it's called
It's food subsidy.
well, the food subsidy works like this. They're gonna give the healthcare, so Blue Cross Blue Shield or United Healthcare, all these companies already come and talk to about whether they could buy us because we bought the only little blue zone company. We said, nah, we'll just keep our blue zone company for right now, you know. But all those healthcare companies is called managed care. So managed care gives the healthcare company, so like if you got your HMO with, I don't know, Duke, for example, they give you a managed care, they get $7,000 from the government for you. Now, take me for example. I get my, you know, physical once a year, so what, $200-300? They get to keep my $7,000. But if you're unhealthy, like 50% of the black teenagers under 20 are pre-diabetic, which is unhealthy, you know, which means that 20 years from now, they could all be on dialysis. So we got major crises coming into lots of different communities. And I'm sure some of y'all are aware of what's going on with health in America, food in America. But all these things are at a critical point at this point. And so, you know, if you bought it with a food prescription, you pay nothing. If you buy it just because you're a member and you just want to buy, well, you'll be paying Walmart prices.
But in terms of the membership, your membership is free. The membership component is important because we guarantee supply. So once this facility.
And we guarantee delivery.
Right. Once this facility reaches a certain capacity, we'd have to start looking for the site, for the next site. We're not trying to, it's not membership like we want to keep people out. It's membership because it's organized, growing, and dedicated supply for the members.
And your membership, I don't want to confuse you guys, but your membership, you can sell it because it'll be valuable. So if you decide to move to another community, you can sell your membership and make some money off of it, you know, because people are moving around all the time. So we made it so it's portable. It's an NFT for those that know what the NFT is. So your membership can go anywhere with you, or you can trade. If you move to California and somebody's got a membership out there, you can say, well, look, you know, I want to buy your membership and I'll sell you mine over here. You know, you might be moving, because, you know, when I'm in Raleigh, most of our neighbors, you know, for 30 years have been from California, New Jersey, and New York. Because everybody, you know, that lives in our neighborhood moved down here, you know, from the north or out Midwest, so I'm just saying.
So this model then takes advantages of exposing people to nutrition, health, food, looking at a different way of buying. In addition to obviously spending cash. Did somebody else have a question?
Okay, I think everybody's been a great audience.
I do too, and we actually.
Go to the Green Blue Marketplace website, you'll learn more about us. But obviously, if you're interested in investment, Corey's the guy to talk to.
Okay. This meeting is over. Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
guys.
coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you.